right, we're back to talk about bullying and other topics. Um,
No. Very sorry.
No.
so where did we leave off? Okay, so this is a question that somebody had. They were curious. What are some of your personal favorite other causes and charities, and why? Whether they're related to bullying or not, I guess it's just a question they were curious about.
I like the Malala Fund just because it supports girls getting educated and equality around the world. Everybody getting educated, every child having access to education. I've worked with a couple groups in East Africa. I'm currently working with one starting up some honey farms in Uganda. So I feel like those are really important because those are just people that just need that little leg up. They don't want money or donations. They just want a little leg up to get, to be able to survive.
I have worked with because I am a girl, because I have two daughters, and I feel like their slogan is "Girls' Rights are Human Rights," and I really feel like if we have the opportunity to educate girls around the world, it will change everything about the way the world works right now. I mean, I think a lot of the problems in some of the countries where you have the Taliban and ISIS and all of this craziness, I think some of that stems from the fact that girls are not educated and that they have no outlets. And I think it all boils down to everybody having the access to education, not just girls. But for me, that's a particularly important thing. Right. And it's important right here at home. It's important in America. It's important in Canada. It's important in first world countries as much as less developed countries. But because obviously we don't even have equality here, let alone elsewhere.
Right. No, absolutely. It's a great cause.
Lots of respect, really, in the end. Mine is it's called Mother Miracle. It's something dear to me. It's when I went to India several years back, I went to this school orphanage, and at the time I was just helping out the construction of it. And afterwards, I just kept involved with it on the monetary sense, and it's dear to me because they're educating kids. They're taking these kids off the streets who sometimes are untouchable kids, or kids that don't even have parents. So it's beautiful.
I worked with various cancer foundations and ALS foundations because it's unfortunately touched my family a little closer. And then from a personal standpoint, I work a lot every year with what's called the BC Children's Hospital. When I was a kid, I lived there for a while. There's a group called Stigma Fighters, which I work with because I myself have some mental health issues. And then I also work with a group for inflammatory bowel disease because I have no large intestine. So I work with a bunch of people that have touched me personally. But there's so many other great ones. Like, I also have two daughters, so like I feel like as soon as this is over, I want to talk to. I do, because it's like I can't think of any more noble thing. Like, when you have children, like, all I want to do, like, I want to spend every waking moment making the world as best as I can for my two daughters. So like anything, it's amazing what a driving force that can be once you have children, that you just think about it 24/7. What can I do to make the world a better place for them? So I want to ask you about it.
I'll tell you.
That's incredible. No, see what sparks from that question. I think the reason why they also ask those questions is because they love to support you guys in all the things that you do and back you guys up. So I think that's why they like to know as well.
Fans that just through their generosity helped buy a full set of ukuleles for my kids' school music program.
They did, I know, and we do that here too. We support various different other organizations, and some of them have to do with bullying in other forms, and some of them don't. It's just about advocacy, and it's just about being a humanitarian, philanthropy, and trying to help people and social good, basically. So, we do that a lot on and we also, the people that we work with, any other organizations that they're involved in, we always get involved and help them out as well. So, it's all about working together. So that's good. Michael, you brought up the subject of mental illness, so I wanted to touch base on that. That's a very big controversial issue that I see a lot, that has stigmas and a lot of bullying that surrounds it, that I've even gotten people that have come to me some people have said that they feel that actors or celebrities have a responsibility to know what, like, be careful what you say or do, walk on eggshells, don't say this, don't say that. If you're too much like this or a certain way, you give too much attention to that one, this one gets jealous, this one's getting bored, this one has mental issues, and that's why that they're constantly tweeting and saying all this stuff. And then you have another side that's saying that it's not your guys' responsibility to know their mental state because you're trying to just, interact with them as fans. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't really know if I'm wording it right, but there's been a lot of conversation about that, about, the responsibility when it comes to social media and tweeting, and like when people tweet to you guys about hurting themselves or their mental issues and states. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we all, as humans, have that responsibility, not just actors, because we're not on no pedestal. I mean, but they put us on that pedestal. I didn't put myself on that pedestal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're all humans, period. All of us have that responsibility as a whole. That's my take on it.
It's a difficult thing. Like, this generation of actors is going through a phase of connectivity with the audience like no other, in terms of being able to interact directly with the audience via social media, but from a different dynamic than we would from the stage. Like, from the stage, nobody could, in 140 characters or less, one-on-one tell us what they thought of our performance or our person.
That stage, right.
And at the same time, there is an expectation. I have a friend of mine who auditioned for a very big Disney series, and literally the first question in the audition was, how many Twitter followers do you have? Like, so there's an obligation or an expectation to do that and to reveal your humanity. But we live in a sensitive time where it's difficult to engage, and it's also difficult to engage in true critical thinking or dialogue when you're limited to 140 characters or less, or a snapshot, or like it's a delicate, difficult time, and it's there is a responsibility and obligation, again, for all of us. We're expected to have certain levels of social media, but you're also seeing more and more performers leave social media because, truthfully, it's dangerous. It's difficult. You'll never please everybody all the time, and while that's easy to say in real life, it's harder to live with in your social media life.
I find that sometimes people can get really aggressive, and I'm going to make reference at this point to Twitter, right? That's the one I found, because they have so many questions, they want to keep coming, and they keep coming. And sometimes I had one time a person ask me the same question, and the only way that she got it across each time is by giving one, and then the next number two.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back from my break, she got up to 100.
Yeah.
Same question.
If
that isn't bullying,
because you can't tweet the same thing twice, exact same way. So when they do that, they do it so you can see it.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they do. They do it like, you'll see, like when people do ask.
No idea.
You wouldn't let them do that same question over, right?
Yeah, no, you can't do the same question in the exact same wording. So what they do is, when they want to reach somebody, especially when they have 500,000 followers and it's an ask whoever, that's what they do. They put a period, they put a little mark, they put a 1, 2, and some of them they get up to like 80, 100, 200.
100. Wow. I sat there and I saw this person's face as I kept going through. I'm going, it's the same question. And then finally I get to the end of it and I go, no, because it was a yes and no thing. I was like, oh my God. And I just sat there and went, did you need to say it 100 times? Eh? And she says, well, you weren't responding to me. She says, I was away. I actually said I was going to be going away for a break. I'll be back in half an hour. I mean, really, it got to a point where I went, wow, interesting, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've seen them get pretty aggressive, and they get angry. Like, I've seen situations where if someone said they weren't going to a con that they previously went to, they're getting a lot of stuff, and it's all over, because I see it all over my timeline, and it's like they're yelling at them, they're being really mean. I've even seen threatening tweets, and I'm like, come on, guys, really? I mean, this is like not stuff that we should be doing, and it's over anything, let alone something so minor such as some of these things. Like, they get I don't know. It's like they just get offended, and then I've seen also when certain people get more attention from certain people, they bully each other about that. That they're tweeting too much.
Someone tweeted you back. You're like, oh.
It should be noted. I mean, too, like I myself, like I've had death threats on social media, and it's different. Like I have never had death threats at the end of a stage performance. You know, like when somebody has to have the courage to come.
I saw that one play.
Maybe West Side Story back in 1991. But the truth is that
I'm gonna get kicked out of the bullying discussion.
Back when we interacted more intimately with the fans via the theater, and some catch you backstage or whatever, you know, there was a different level of accountability. So
because it's face to face. One of the dangerous things about social media is that you can say. I had somebody. One of the things that I have talked about is remember there was Yes All Women, and there was a lot of talk about rape and about consent and about all of it, which is another. That's something that I do talk about and that is a cause dear to me. And I had this young kid he put his address. So I got it, just so you know.
Save everything. I always say screenshot everything, save it, because if you have to make a file, you have to save it.
Yeah. We save it, so you know. But this kid made some comment about it that was like about rape being your own fault, and I thought it was one of the most appalling things I have ever seen in my circle of social media. And and you want to talk about bullying? You're going to bully somebody for having been a victim of something like that? It was really appalling. And I think anonymity gives people a sense of power that I think a lot of times they don't even realize is akin to bullying. The same as if you were pushing a kid down in the schoolyard.
And truthfully, it's scary
and
because
perhaps worse.
We don't know where you're going to take these actions. We don't know. It's a scary world. You don't know how far you'll take it. So truthfully, lots of people get chased off of social media because of that. And even if it's a few bad eggs, it only takes one bad egg.
It does.
It takes one bad egg to wreck it, to scare you into saying, I don't want to ever connect because it's too. I leave myself too vulnerable, and again, I don't want my family to lose me. I don't want to have any harm come to my family. Like it's scary and it's dangerous, and people don't understand. And you can privately say in your own home, "Well, I was just kidding," or "I was just that way." But when you literally threaten somebody's life on even in social media, it still feels
it's scary. It's still, they don't realize that cyberbullying and bullying, I mean, there's lots of new laws. It's illegal. To threaten anybody's illegal. That goes up to a different, like a harassment level of bullying. But I've seen it, and I actually know someone a public figure that's having a lot of stuff go on like that right now. But you know what? She still keeps going. She still keeps pushing. She still keeps tweeting, standing up for herself, standing up for other people, the conversations that she's having. And she's getting attacked left and right, but she also has a lot of support. But I have seen, I actually saw, and what kills me is that they write it in a different language when it says you can translate it on the tweet. So I'm not really sure what the point of the saying in a different language is nowadays, that you can translate everything. But I saw one, and it was literally threatening someone because they said that they weren't going to a con this year. And then it was like, oh, I was just kidding. I didn't mean it like that. It was all meant to be a joke, and the tweet got deleted. And I'm like, okay, but you still don't do those things. Like, it doesn't matter if it's that's not really a joke.
It's not really a joke.
What's funny is that people actually consider that to be bullying. I just consider that to be cowards. Anybody, see, bullying to me is face to face. That's a person really that's engaging. If a person's doing it with a little typewriter from some little room somewhere, that's a coward.
Absolutely, it is.
Bullying. Okay, that's a coward.
Especially a typewriter, because
right.
Right
there. That would be coward. Nothing more than that. It's just a coward. Anybody that wants to bully somebody on social media is a coward, not a bully. Okay, I don't want to give them that title because it's not even a title that they deserve.
Right.
They are a coward. Period. That's it.
If you can do graphics, you do need to bring up a typewriter. Because I don't know if anybody knows.
We can do everything. Yeah, they might not be like, what's a typewriter? But yeah, I'll have her throw one in there as a little. We always, put a little humor into our chats.
Otherwise, like, someday I'm going to tell my grandkids I'm older than the internet. It'll blow their minds.
But yeah, it's sad. I've seen a lot of people get run off social media or disappear for a while or just stop tweeting. And it's really sad because if you have to be scared to go on social media, and it's such a beautiful thing, social media too. And you could raise funds, you could talk about charities and good things and social good and reach a lot of people, but you do have that negative aspect of it where it can be scary, and the things that go on and that you read about in the news that I constantly see, because I follow all that stuff, or it gets brought to my attention. It's really sad and scary stuff that goes on.
You're finding more and more people hiring people to take care of their social media,
right.
so it's thus disconnecting the personalized touch that you wanted, but it's still necessary from a business standpoint. So it may just implode someday because it's going to, it's going to defeat the purpose why it was created in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is it's going to stop people from interacting with their fans, and the good people, the good-hearted ones that are out there that are not doing these things are not going to have the chance to interact due to the epidemic of what goes on. And so, and don't get me wrong, bullying and everything, it happens tons off of social media as well. But it's just the reason why I think social media comes up so much more is because back when I was younger, I'm 36 years old, so I had a beeper. I had to actually go look for a payphone. I didn't have an Apple iPhone when I was 14 years old, and it was just very different times, and we didn't have social media back then either. If you had an issue with someone or bullying, it happened, like you said, face to face or wherever you were, and it was almost like an isolated incident, and then it was somewhat done, or it happened a couple times and then it kind of faded. Now it's like harsh and consistent, and the fact that they can hide behind, they think they can hide behind social media. What they really don't know is that they can. And there's lots of ways that they can. I used to work with, we do cyberbullying services that we've done for people, and they don't realize you can easily find out who they are, lots of stuff, and it's basic stuff that you can do, and that they don't realize that they're not hiding. But I just think that it's such a popular way to bully people now because it's easy.
Mm-hmm. It's easy and it's lazy, and you can do it at 3 in the
right.
morning.
Yeah,
in your underwear.
While you're watching YouTube.
Hey, I'm bored. Let me just,
I'm going to send it back at you later,
Yeah. And it's so fast. You don't have to mull it over that night if someone, pissed you off, and you think about it, then, by the next day you usually have resolved it a little better. But now you can literally, as soon as you have that feeling, you can
boom,
type it out to
and
the
that's
world.
the bad thing. Having that feeling at that moment is the worst time that you can say something.
Exactly. Instead of just mulling it over like we used to have to, because we didn't have that instantaneousness.
True. I just let it go.
Instead of facts, you had to think about it.
Yeah.
I just ignore it and let it go, and that's it. And if it gets to the point where they keep being persistent, we always have that button. It's called block, right? The sad thing about
I use it.
Yeah, the sad thing about that is someone just creates a new account and starts up again, right? So what? So I look at it this way. The best way is just ignore, because they don't deserve your time if they're going to treat you like that. Mm-hmm. From one human to another. That's all.
I always say that when people ask me what should I do, I say, well, the first thing that we always recommend, ignore it, do not engage in it, because that's what they want you to do, and block them if you have to. Yes, they'll create more accounts, let them create more accounts, so then you ignore those accounts, and you could also report them for spam. I've had to do that. I've had to report to Twitter. A lot of people find that the Facebook and Twitter and the social media sites, sometimes they're not doing enough, and, unless you're somebody huge, and it's like death threats, and it's like, okay, well, they should have a whole department dedicated, and they probably should, but you know what? That takes a lot, and it's probably not going to happen, and there's a lot of people that are having serious issues that are not getting addressed by social media, or the accounts get suspended, and there's just a lot of thoughts on what people should do with the social media thing, and they just feel like it's not enough that's getting done, but what are you going to do, in those situations?
I think it's up to us in the end. If we start giving that power to someone else, you have to take care of this. That's ridiculous. We've been doing this too long. Stand up for your own stuff. Standing up might mean just ignoring and just let it go, period. That's it. That's all it is letting it go, really.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Don't.
I know, I
Don't,
know, I know.
because they're looking to engage. They want engagement. So you don't give them engagement. And then you just move on because they're, okay, well, someone's going to give it to me. As soon as someone does give it to them, oh, you're an asshole, like back to them. Oh, great, now I'm going to start engaging with this person. Okay, let them.
Yeah.
Right?
They look for people who are going to go around and around and around in circles with them. And they're going to answer them and going to respond, and they can just take it into that cycle. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you just are so curious on what they're going to say about you.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Just block it. Don't look at this girl. I felt so bad. I get them coming to me. What should I do? What should I do? It doesn't stop. And I said, ignore it. Like, if you just keep, like, well, I'm curious. I don't want to block them because I want to see what they're saying. I'm like, it's not, who cares what they're saying?
Really? See?
They want to see what, and I said, but that's going to make you feel worse. So, like, you have to really block them and just completely let go of it from your life, like you said. And it's a cowardice act. It's very easy to, I want to say these few things, and I could do it, no big deal. But I guarantee you, if somebody was face to face, they wouldn't be doing that or saying that. It's two completely different situations. And the worst thing that we can do is when we're in that moment of being upset or angry, and that's what I think a lot of the time happens on social media, is everything just comes out on Facebook, on Twitter. You tweet something, it comes out, and then I'm gonna delete it, and then it's too late because how many people took a screenshot of it?
Exactly.
You have to be careful what you put out there. It's not easy you can't really take it back once you say it.
I make so many spelling mistakes, and I delete them, and I go, oh, God, I feel so bad. No, we caught you. You spelled it like that,
Yeah, I delete tweets like 100 times a day. Maya, you crack me up because you're the worst with that.
Like, I look at so many of my tweets, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
What do I call you, Maya?
Chubby fingers? Chubby thumbs?
I'm just dyslexic.
Mine are terrible.
Okay, but you're the one who said it's because of your chubby fingers, so you kind of threw yourself under the bus with that one. But that's not bullying, guys. It's just a little joke.
It's just the truth. Like, look at them. My thumbs are like as big as yours.
Well, I got a big one there too. You might get like that too. Yeah, actually, I do have a big thumb. Isn't it? Interesting. Okay.
Now that we've talked about Maya's thumbs. No, but it's true. Like, the one little typo can set people off. Because I've seen it.
They get annoyed about that stuff. It's crazy, eh?
Yeah, no, it very much is.
That drives me.
See, there you go.
Mine's just like smart text when it tries to like think that you want to write, and that just kills. Like, I've sent so many bad texts and written so many bad tweets.
Doing that voice to text, right? And all of a sudden it's like, I didn't say that.
That's not what I said. No.
Take that back. Oh,
Take
God.
that back.
I am fortunate. I have to go soon. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to be done in a second. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up. We'll get it just a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's totally true what, everything that we're talking about. And we could actually have these conversations for hours talking about it because there's just so many things to touch base on. And, sadly, it's an ongoing thing right now. But I know one of the things that a lot of people were curious about, and I got it a couple times of a question they wanted to hear from, a response rather they wanted to hear from you guys, is what advice or words of wisdom do you have for people out there struggling, whether it be youth, adults, anybody, just human beings in general, struggling with anything that has to do with any form of hate or bullying?
This too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, you think high school will be forever. It's amazing how little high school ultimately matters in the grand scheme of your life, but it's a tremendously difficult, this is a specific area of life, but it can be so difficult, and you can't sometimes comprehend that it will eventually be over, and you will scarcely even think about any of those people who are so central to your existence at that time, because I think it's when you first raise your head, socially, and eventually you will move away from that. And really, everything we go through in life has a beginning and an end, and you can get through all of it. It won't always be forever. You just have to, you stay strong. It doesn't mean that there's not remnants of that follow you later. There are for all of us. But that's what I would say, is just to know that it will not be forever.
And you're not alone. You know, I think one of the most eye-opening thing at both my 10-year and 20-year reunions was how many of us felt bullied in high school, and it was that rare epiphany moment where we all walked around. Well, we couldn't all have been bullied. There must have been a Darth Vader. Like, who was the bad guy? Like, we couldn't have all been victims, could we? But I think sometimes when you're in the thick of it, and it's, again, not just for high school, but it's a great snapshot of our lives in terms of how we go, it's important to note that you're not alone. I don't know anybody in the world who's never felt bullied. And I think it's really important in the spirit of You're Not Alone also to be the change you wish to see. Like, be aware that as much as you feel bullied, there's a really good chance that somebody in your universe, in your paradigm, that feels bullied because of you. And it's really important to be aware that we always want to gravitate to being the good guy, but we have to be aware when we could potentially be negatively affecting others. And I think we owe that to each other as a global community, that we have to try to do better.
Love for self, love for others, compassion for self, compassion for others, understanding. That's it.
And I think finding a good something that you're passionate about that can be a positive force, so that no matter what you're feeling, you have some positive out, something to do that you can bury any of those feelings that you feel, bury any of the hate, bury any of those emotional distraughtness that you feel from being a victim, or any of that hate you might feel if you maybe are the bully. If more people reach for a positive, passionate thing to put their energy into, I feel like they can help a little bit too.
And also, I think there's a sense that, like when, as an actor, where I come from as an actor, it's always script analysis. I'm always looking at who a character is and what makes them do the things they do. And I remember, studying when you play an evil character, it's so easy to think that somebody is just evil, but beneath that is almost always pain. And I think if you can take a step back from those people, even when I talked about the bullies, that family of girls that bullied me mercilessly when I was a kid. When I look back now as a grown-up and I look at the situation that they were growing up in and the lives that they ultimately ended up with, I am able to recognize that what they were doing was clearly coming from a place of pain. They were, they were not happy people. Exactly. And I think if we can take a step back and have a look at that, that also can mitigate the effects of bullying for all of us.
There's a great book that I really like called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the 7 habits is understand before you're understood. And I think it's really difficult for people to do that, but if you take the time to really try to hear where somebody's coming from, even if it's a bad place, it might give you a better opportunity to evaluate how you respond.
All good points, because it's all very true. Like I said, everybody's a victim. And I think the more, sometimes I've heard of really beautiful stories where people ended up best friends with their bullies because they stood up to them, or they just gave them like the attention that they needed. It's just really about love and compassion and putting yourself out there to try to help them. And it's not just about, let's punish them for this and for that. And granted, some of it's more intense and crazy than other bullying situations, but it's still about, they need some type of help. So I think that we touched on a lot of amazing things and topics, and had great conversation. Like I said, we could have conversations about this for hours. So, but we all obviously have 2 lives to get back to. But I appreciate you guys all taking the time out again of your schedule to be here. It was great chatting with you all. I loved the conversation, and I'm sure everybody else will love the conversation as well.
And can we give another big plug to Mikey Raymond James?
Oh, I'm sorry. I also have to tell you this. I'm sorry. Mikey told me to give all you guys his love, and he said hi. He just, with his filming schedule, he's been extremely crazy busy, and he had,
He is maybe the best actor on the planet.
Yeah, he had plans with his son, family time, and I absolutely understood that. And he's always first and willing to do everything, especially when it comes to BKO. He's been amazing. So, but he wanted me to extend, love out to everybody and everybody watching, and you guys, and, just say hello. So I was supposed to do that. So, all right, guys. So, thank you again, and I hope everybody watching enjoyed this. And be kind and love big.
Thank you.
Thanks for organizing.
Thanks, Dana.